In case you haven't heard, here in the UK it's Dyslexia Awareness Week. So stay tuned as I'll be answering some of your questions about my experiences as a dyslexic electrician. And before you ask, no, I can't spell dyslexia. So thank you to everybody that sent in the questions. I haven't read or seen any of these yet, so I apologise for any flustering and usual kind of can't reading type things. Anyway, here we go. Question number 1. What was it like being dyslexic in school? From Paul in Bournemouth. Well, in all honesty, I didn't know. It didn't affect me. It wasn't until my early 20s that I spoke to the relevant people who put me in the right direction, and that's when I discovered I was actually dyslexic. But actually in school I was rubbish in English, maths, basically anything that dealt with handwriting. But ironically, that all of my teachers that I had didn't pick up on it, and I'm sure I wasn't the only person. But yeah, through school it didn't really affect me. I just knew I was better doing things with my hands than I was writing stuff and reading stuff. So yeah, on to that one. Question number 2 from Anne in Liverpool. I shouldn't really do that, apologies. My old man's a scouser, so drops in every now and again. When did you get diagnosed as dyslexic? Well, officially I haven't been diagnosed. Having spoken to people, and I spoke to one person who worked in a disability area. He was either deaf person. Was he deaf? Sorry, he was blind. He knew more about it. He explained everything to me about how and why he thought I was dyslexic, and from there I went and saw a doctor who then confirmed that yes, I am dyslexic. But because I was already working in the trade, I found my niche for what I needed to do for work-wise. He said it wasn't really worth me going to do all the tests because it was a waste of time and everybody's money and all the rest of it. But yeah, that's basically it. That's why the doctors, because I saw 2, both agreed and came back with the same thing. But yeah, I haven't officially had a proper test done, so to speak, because, well, I'm working in the trade and I didn't really feel the need. Question number 3 from Sue in Croydon. Did you find passing your electrical exams a problem? Yes, I did. Practical exams I sailed through, but the theory side of it, really struggled with the theory side. Now that was the downside to me going back to not being officially tested for dyslexia, because I didn't have the piece of paper that actually says you are dyslexic, or should I say you are dyslexic for the camera. I wasn't able to get any help. I couldn't get any extra time on my exams. I didn't have somebody with me who could explain things to me properly, because one of my issues with dyslexia is I read things wrong. I read things in the wrong order sometimes, and I take things completely out of context. So they're written in a way that sometimes I'll read it and I'll think of something completely random which I think is relevant to that sentence or to that question, but in fact it means something completely different. So yes, I struggled a lot with my exams on the theory side, and I did take my which exam was it? I did take 1 or 2 of the exams twice to get through, and I haven't gone for the top qualification that I can currently get, the 2391, simply because I know I'll pass the practical stuff because I test my own work and I'm qualified to test my own work, but the whole theory side of it and the science part of it, I just can't get it into my head. It just doesn't stick. Question number 4. Did you choose to work on the tools because of your dyslexia? Partly yes, partly no. Originally I worked as a sound engineer. I spent 15 years touring with various bands, etc. Then circumstances with life and with that job that I was working in, I moved into becoming an electrician. And a big part of that was because it was just a simple, I can't think of the word, it was the next stage. It was I was working with cabling to a basic level, doing my sound stuff. I had an interest in wiring things, building things, so it just seemed like a natural progression. So that's how I became an electrician. And I was also lucky enough that my mother-in-law's electrician was looking for a number two, so I managed to get some real-world experience working on the tools with him, because what I teach you in college doesn't translate into the real world. So if you are an apprentice and you're watching this, definitely, or if you're training, definitely try and get an apprenticeship, because what you learn in college and school, get to the real world, it's very different. Question number 5. Oh, Rashid in Birmingham. What's the worst thing that has happened to you because of your dyslexia? The worst thing? I don't think I could say there is a worst thing. I've had it all my life, presumably. I didn't know about it till later in life, as I've already explained, so I've just learned to live with it. It's just like anything, I guess you just get on with it. That's the worst thing that's ever happened. Yeah, no, sorry, that's all I've got on that, I'm afraid. Question number 6. As an electrician, how does it affect you on your day-to-day basis? As an electrician, how does dyslexia affect you on a day-to-day basis? It doesn't really. I'm so used to doing stuff with my hands. A lot of the stuff I do is quite repetitive, as a lot of tradespeople do. You do the job 2-3 times. You know how to do it, and you find better ways of doing that job. Reading plans is okay. I can be a bit slow with doing that. Doing paperwork, I always have to use the spell check. Always have to remember to do that at the end, and it will invariably pick up probably 20 spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. So from a work-wise, working with my hands, etc., it doesn't really bode any bad things towards it. But when it comes to the paperwork side, it can be a little bit difficult. But Word, Excel, etc., they've all got spell checks, they've got grammar checks. Occasionally even they get it wrong because it's all Americanized, so it's not good for the English language from that point of view. But yeah, that's pretty much it on that. Question number 7 from Chris and Falmouth, or Falmouth. What is the hardest thing about being dyslexic? Hardest thing about being dyslexic? Being able to learn, I suppose, being able to progress in my career. As I've already explained, I find it very, very difficult to retain or understand the science, all the equations that I need to learn and need to know to be able to step up to the next qualification. And like again, because I've never been tested, and to be honest, I'm in a great position where I am at the moment, where I don't need to do the next qualification because I'm busy enough that I don't need to. I'm in that very lucky position. But if you are dyslexic, or you think you are, and you want to get into the trade for anything really, if you wish to get qualified in whatever it is you're doing, do speak to the British Association for Dyslexia, and they will help you and point you in the right direction. And excuse me, and that they and if you do get diagnosed with dyslexia, it will actually help you. Don't be ashamed by it. It doesn't bother anybody, but it will help you with your exams, for example, so you can progress, because you will get the extra help, you will get the extra time. Don't do what I did and just kind of dismiss it and think, it'll be alright, don't worry about it. In some ways I do regret not going down that road, but in other ways, that's life. And question number 8. Have you ever spelt your wife's name wrong? Because of your dyslexia. From my wife in Taunton. You know damn well that yes, I have spelt your name wrong. I think we'll leave it at that. Thankfully, dyslexia is much easier to diagnose these days. If you think you have it, you can find out more and get support from the British Dyslexia Association. The link is here, and I'll also leave it in the description box below. I'd love to know if you're dyslexic and what your experiences have been. If you work in the trade, did dyslexia influence your decision to work with the tools instead of words? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching. See you next time. So thank you to all the viewers. In case you haven't heard, here in the UK is Dyslexia Awareness Week. So stay tuned as I'll be answering some of your questions about my experiences as a dyslexic electrician. Thankfully, dyslexia is much easier to not read.